What are my predictions for 2022? I mean, it's a tricky old question. Um, and there's a few things, not that I know I have inside knowledge on or anything like that, but these are generally predictions um, that I've kind of I have had to think about this, and one prediction that is pretty much going to have to be certain is that within 2022, Spotify will adopt Dolby Atmos. They 100%. I can almost guarantee that. And the reason I can pretty much guarantee that is because they're getting left behind when it comes to the streaming services of people that want better quality audio. People that want lossless audio, people that want Dolby Atmos, people that are kind of audiophiles that listen to music and want the best quality music. They are getting left behind there. And the general consensus within the music industry is that, why would we stream on Spotify? Why would we listen on Spotify when Apple Music, Tidal have such better quality audio? So Spotify are going to have to, in order to keep up their subscription model, they are going to have to adopt Dolby Atmos. So in 2022, I reckon within the first 4 months, Spotify will have implemented it. And I reckon they already have had the meetings. They already have started to talk about, I reckon even before, well before I'm doing this video on, New Year's Eve. Before then, they have had the meetings, they have had the discussions, and they are already trying to implement it into the Spotify app or whatever it is. I reckon they're already doing that. So that I reckon that will go live by about April. I'd love to re-watch this video by the end of the year and see how many of these predictions are actually true. The second one regarding Dolby Atmos is that these streaming services, I predict that they're not going to be taking because at the moment what's happening is they're taking the stereo file. So you've got a stereo master and you've got an ADM. The ADM being the Dolby Atmos ADM. That's got all your metadata, that's got all your information, that's got all your object information, that's got all your audio information. Everything's in this ADM. A typical song, you're talking probably an ADM being about a gig of audio data, and a typical song in stereo being about 60 megabytes. So it's a lot larger file, and the two need to sync up perfectly. Now, what I reckon, the great thing about an ADM, first of all, and the whole Dolby Atmos way that we work, is that the ADM can sum down, or rather Dolby Atmos can sum down to stereo and give you a stereo playback. So what I'm predicting, and what I'm kind of hoping this is something that does come true, is that when you supply music to Dolby to Apple Music or any of these streaming sites, Tidal, Amazon, any of these, you will deliver the ADM file to Apple, Amazon, or Tidal, and hopefully future Spotify. You will deliver the ADM to them, and that's all you will deliver. From there, what will happen is you will stream this ADM back through their codec. So we'll come back to you in Dolby Atmos. Then what will happen is, if your device is set to stereo, it will play back to you the ADM, but it will play back the stereo to you. So it won't be playing back the stereo master. It will play back the stereo directly from the ADM, the sum down to stereo in the ADM. And then if you've got Dolby Atmos active, you'll sum back um, the full Dolby Atmos experience into headphones. Um, that's a prediction that I reckon. I well, I reckon it could come true. I reckon that could be something that could be a thing. Might take a little while. It might not. It might have been something that's already in the pipeline. Um, but I actually personally hope that is the case, because then someone like myself, we can just print an ADM, and that is the master file. That then splits off into whatever anybody wants to listen to. If they want to listen to it at 5.1, pulls a 5.1 out of it, 7.1 Dolby Atmos, it scales up to cinema. um you know, its its possibilities are endless in terms of what is possible with playing back this ADM file. And that's what's great about that. And I do think that will become something that ADMs are the new delivery format. The other thing is, yeah, the things like Apple, um, going by Dolby Atmos standards, Apple, Tidal, all these formats and streaming services are going to. I mean, Apple Music, it's already the default for Apple Music. They're just going to all want the Dolby Atmos. Is Dolby Atmos going to replace stereo in 2022? No, I don't think so. I think stereo is still going to be a thing, primarily because DJs still want stereo. You know, DJ isn't going to want to play Dolby Atmos, so stereo is still going to be a thing, especially in the underground scene. But in terms of professional music going out into pop music world, kind of chart music, um, anything that's a professional release, let's say, is going to have a Dolby Atmos um, master, if you want to call it a master, alongside it. It will have to have, because it already is the case with every professional big. I mean, when I say professional, I'm talking big release. There's a little bit of catching up for the independent artists. A lot of them have adopted it and realised that all the big labels are all 100% Dolby Atmos and a stereo. So people are going to have to catch up, and that will come in 2022. People will the rest of the industry will catch up with the kind of big labels. That's a prediction that's just going to happen based on education of what Dolby Atmos is. It's the same thing as when when people went from mono to stereo. I mean, it's a very long time ago, but when that happened, people were just like, oh well, why don't we just put dual mono? Well, then it's still mono. It's just coming out two speakers. And people needed to get their heads around. Oh right, you've got a left and a right, and they're different. And now you got to get people's heads around that you've got all these speakers around you, and they sum down into a pair of headphones. Well, how does it do that? And it's getting the education out there, and that's something that needs to be done on kind of Dolby's side, on Apple's side. If they want people to adopt the platform, then people need to be educated about it, and people need to understand about it. It took me some time to learn about it, and it is a learning curve, and it's not something that everybody knows about. And that's why I do these videos that are talking about this. So that's another little prediction. So the other one, and I would predict this. I predict this every year, and it never comes true. And I almost feel like they've missed the boat on it a little bit. But I think someone like UAD, Universal Audio, will start a subscription model on their plugins. And like I say, I predict that every year, and they never do it. Maybe this year's the year, but I very much doubt they will. What else? Let me have a think for a minute. Another prediction would be Solid State Logic will come out with some really good plugins. I saw this. I kind of read between the lines and saw it coming, which is why I signed up to their subscription, because I wanted I wanted all the new plugins, and it works out. I think it works out something like 9.99 a month, and it's, in the grand scheme of a business like ours, it's peanuts. Um, and so I've signed up to the subscription in the hope, and I have read between the lines, and I do believe there's going to be a lot of new plugins. What they are, I don't know, but they are going to be a lot of new plugins coming in 2022. What I mean, it could be an actual full emulation of a fusion. That would be really cool, but I don't see them doing that, and I can't really think of what else they're going to do. Um, yeah, I don't really know in regards to that. I think going off the plugin side of things, I think you'll get a lot more plugins that are directed at Dolby Atmos. A lot of plugins will adapt to be kind of 7.1.2 kind of bed, have that ability with them as standard. Just as more people adopt the whole Dolby Atmos thing, it becomes a market that's very relevant and required from plugin manufacturers. Um, what else? Let me have another think. Another prediction for 2022: the price of equipment will astronomically increase. Um, I say astronomically. It will increase quite a bit. I've noticed it on a few things, like my Avid S4 here, has recently increased by 20%, which is madness. And I think the rest of the Avid line increased in price by 20%. So prices will increase for equipment, and that's basically down to this whole COVID virus stumping kind of production lines. Everything is a knock-on effect. Something gets more expensive here and it trickles up the chain, and who does it end up with? People like myself who have to pay 20% more for something. So it is something that is going to happen and has already happened with a couple of companies, and I think it's just going to follow in regards to more music related companies. That is generally throughout every industry is going to be like that. You're going to get an increase in price. So really, if you're looking to buy something, I would say buy it ASAP, because I do think generally everything's going to go up in price. Everything in the audio industry is going to go up in price. Like I say, this console here has gone up 20%, which is a huge amount. I think 20% of it was something like £6,000. So that is a big amount of money for it to have gone up in price. That's a huge amount of money, really. Yeah. So I mean, I'm going to end it there because it's very difficult to predict what's going to happen in 2022. But there's 5 or so small predictions that I think will happen, and I'll be interested to watch this back in 2023 and see how many did actually come true. And the ones I pretty much I feel will 100% come true. Spotify will adopt Dolby Atmos. That's pretty much a given. Solid State Logic will come out with a load of really good plugins in the probably the first quarter, and Dolby Atmos delivery of the ADM file being the format that you deliver, and you no longer deliver stereo for streaming. That by no means means that stereo's gonna die in 2022. I reckon that will happen. Stereo will phase out. I think stereo phase out 2022, 2023, 2024, something that's around that. In the next 3 years, stereo will phase out, but I don't think it will go away, because you still have demand for it in the DJ industry. There's still going to be high demand for it there. In the consumer and listener industry, that's gonna they're gonna that's gonna be kind of, stereo is gonna be phased out of that industry, and it's just gonna be Dolby Atmos. But what, like I say, Dolby, the thing with it is a Dolby Atmos file can sum down to stereo, right, and still give you the kind of effect of Dolby Atmos in stereo, but it's going to sum down to stereo, and that's going to be your stereo if you want to listen to it back in stereo. So yeah, they're my 2022 predictions. Hopefully some of them come true, and this video actually has some relevance.